Let's give all praises to the Most High, whose true name in ancient Hebrew is Yahweh, in the name of his only begotten Son, whose true name in the ancient Hebrew is Yahweh Shai, and the Holy Spirit, which in the ancient Hebrew is the Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the elders of GMS who taught us this truth by the Holy Spirit. Honors to the brothers risking their life and freedom to push the gospel. Peace and blessings to the elect, who consist of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, who make up the lost 12 tribes of Israel, according to scripture and prophecy. The elect will be 1/3 of the Israelites, who in these last days are returning back to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah for salvation, while the 2/3 of Israel who don't seek the Lord in time be destroyed with America, and that's according to prophecy. We back with another lesson through the mercy and spirit of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah. This lesson is going to be titled Scientists Track the Soul After Death. The soul travels faster than light speed across the universe. Again, the title, Scientists Track the Soul After Death. The soul travels faster than light speed across the universe. Yeah, pretty much you had Russian scientists track the spirit, track the soul to see whether the soul exists, to see whether consciousness persists even after death. Because they thought consciousness was limited to brain function. They didn't really believe in the spirit. But through this experiment, these studies they conducted, they found out that the spirit persists even after death. Or excuse me, the consciousness persists even after death. And that consciousness can exist outside of this physical body. Not only that, they track the spirit travel far, far, far away across the universe. And they said it traveled faster than the speed of light. And some videos say it went beyond the point that they could continue to track it. And some sources say that the spirit went to a galaxy that was just discovered some billions and billions and billions of light years away. Which we're going to talk about why that's true. Yeah, and the spirit does travel across the universe. And where does it go? That's billions and billions of light years away. The spirit world, to the throne of the Most High. To sum it up, but we're going to get this here. Ezekiel 28:1. The word of the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah came again unto me, saying, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus. Now, in the spirit, in the prophetic sense, this represents Esau, Edom, the so-called white man today. Thus says the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah, because thine heart is lifted up. What does it mean that his heart is lifted up? Come to the book of Obadiah. We hit 1 and 1. The vision of Obadiah. Thus says the Lord concerning Edom. So now we know who it's talking about. His heart lifted up is when we go to verse 3. The pride of thine heart have deceived thee. Thou that dwellest in the cliffs of the rock, whose habitation is high, that say in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? So that's his heart being lifted up in pride. That he thinks he's above everybody, including the Most High. Because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God. I sit in the seat of God in the midst of the seas, yet thou art a man, and not God, though thou set thine heart as the heart of God. What does it mean to set his heart as the heart of the Most High? Well, that's his desire, to be like the Most High. He's on his quest to make himself immortal, all-knowing, through his technology. And that's why when we get this in Isaiah 14:14, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. What is that? Space travels. You know, they've been going to space since the 1960s, so-called. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. So him trying to go into outer space is him being like the Most High. The Lord gave the earth for man to rule over. No, but Esau want to go beyond that. So showing how this applies to Esau, the white man today. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. Esau, has the most knowledge of anybody that came before him. He could tell you all the muscle fibers, everything that go on with the cells. Now, just because he know that knowledge don't mean he understand it or what to do with it. But again, behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. So Esau, through his deep mind, his desire to be like the Most High, his science and technology, he can search out anything. He can search out anything he wishes. Now, just because he can search it out and find evidence of it, it don't mean he understand it. Because usually when they discover something, that discovery come with 1,000 more questions. But yeah, there is no secret that they can hide from thee. And even a secret of is there life after death? And where does consciousness or the spirit or the soul go after death? They found out it continues. They found out it travels far away, but they don't know where. But without no science and no technology, just the pure wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, we got the answers to all of that. But we're going to start with this short. Very, very interesting.
Russian scientists may have figured out exactly where our soul goes after death. Scientists have been studying death for decades, but they've never been able to go beyond what happens to the physical body after death, like if we have a soul or not. According to Russian scientists, they say we do have a soul, and they've figured out how to track it after we pass away. This bold claim comes from Russia's biggest tech giant, Vlad Tech. They've spent the last 10 years developing an interface that ties to the brain that can embed code in every atom of your being. Refer to this code as SIC code, or Soul Identification Code. And they say they can track it after you die. How it works is it actually detects your frequency, or the electricity you give off after you pass away.
Because we are energy. The spirit is just pure energy. And your body gives off this certain energy after death. And they was able to track that energy.
Your essence, or your aura. They were able to put this to the test over the last couple days because their first guinea pig for the experiment passed away. And the results were astounding. Immediately upon passing, they were able to monitor his soul leaving the body. But then it almost instantly disappeared off the radar. The scientists attributed this to the fact that the soul was traveling faster than the speed of light.
Yeah, because according to scientists, the speed of light is the fastest speed anything can travel. But that's just the speed, of things in this physical universe. There's a world, a universe outside of this physical one that we see. That's not limited to the bounds set in this physical universe. So stuff in the spirit or things we can't see can travel way faster than the speed of light. And he said the spirit, after it's separated from the body, seemed like it disappeared, and attributed it to the spirit traveling faster than the speed of light. And we can support all this. Well, yeah, we can verify this through the scriptures.
Well, they lost track of it and weren't able to monitor it. This went on for about an hour. Then they refreshed their computers, and there it was. It was showing 1 billion light years away. Back in 2024, the James Webb Telescope discovered a galaxy referred to as JZ140, also known as JADES GSZ 140. It was located as part of the Advanced Deep Extragalactic Survey. the JADES program. What's baffling about all this is that's exactly where they track the soul to, literally billions of light years away. Now, why there? Your guess is as good as mine. Is that where we go when we die? Is that heaven? Those
Yeah, that would be the spiritual world, where the throne of the Most High is. And yeah, that's where we go after death. But yeah, they conclude that the spirit disappears because it travels faster than the speed of light to some deep space, edge of the universe type galaxy billions of years away. Something, they just discovered. And I won't say the spirit went to that galaxy, but I guess you could say it traveled in that direction. Pretty much, so far they couldn't track it no more. You can't measure it. So we gonna go into this next video. I'm gonna get about 8 minutes of it. It's gonna go into a little more detail.
Welcome back to Shadows Uncovered. Today, a story you won't find in textbooks, but it just might change the way you understand what the soul is and why it became a threat. What if, in the mid-20th century, a group of Soviet scientists proved what religions had been saying for centuries? What if they gathered data suggesting the soul exists? And what if they were silenced because of it? This isn't a conspiracy theory. These are real documents, journals, interviews, and recordings, hidden for decades in state archives. Today, you'll hear a story they never told you in physics class. A story where science, the supernatural, and state censorship collided. A story that was buried for too long, because if the soul is real, the entire system of belief collapses. USSR 1975, a classified laboratory near Moscow. Officially, a center for the study of psychophysiology. Unofficially, Project Venice, funded by the military and the KGB. A group of scientists led by Dr. Grigory Grigoriev began conducting a series of experiments that pushed the limits of what was considered acceptable. Their goal, to detect whether something leaves the human body at the moment of death. They used the most advanced equipment of the time: infrared cameras, electromagnetic sensors, laser interferometers. It all began with a chance observation. During the resuscitation of a patient, one of the instruments detected an energy spike coming from the head. The patient died, but the signal remained. It wasn't a device error. Repeated experiments yielded the same results. What was it? Some called it residual bioemission. But in the archives, a note from one of the physicists reads, "This energy behaves as if it's conscious."
And that energy that behaves as if it's conscious is talking about the spirit or the soul. That's what it's talking about, because the spirit is pure energy.
It doesn't simply disperse, it moves, as if it's leaving the body.
And that's what happens after death. Your spirit, your soul leaves the body. So let's go back a little bit.
Residual bioemission. But in the archives, a note from one of the physicists reads, "This energy behaves as if it's conscious. It doesn't simply disperse, it moves, as..."
Yeah, because your spirit, that's the real you. The body is just a meat suit. That's why they say this energy behaves as if it's alive, because that's the spirit.
It doesn't simply disperse, it moves, as if it's leaving the body.
And that's what happens after death. The spirit leaves the body. They're 100% correct on that. And we can verify that with the scriptures. So when we hit the book of Psalms, chapter 104, verse 29, "Thou hidest thy face, they are troubled. Thou takest away their breath," meaning what? They die and return to their dust. What does it mean they return to their dust? Well, this is the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 7. And the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua formed man of the dust of the ground. So Psalms 104:29, thou takest away their breath, they die, and return to their dust. Well, we was formed from the dust of the ground. So that's where we return. That's why they got the saying, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Okay, the Lord formed man of the dust of the ground. And what color is the dust? What color is the dirt? Ain't it all shades from brown to dark brown to black? Now you know all people in the beginning had color. So the white man, who are Edomites, didn't exist at the beginning of the book of Genesis. And breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. So that breath represents life. But deeper than that represents the Holy Spirit. And man, who was talking about Adam, became a living soul. So back to Psalms 104:29, thou takest away their breath, they die, and return to their dust. So the body goes back to the dust. But what happens to the spirit? This is the book of Ecclesiastes 12, verse 7. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was. And what's that dust? That's the body. Because remember, the Lord formed man of the dust of the ground. So the dust, the body, returns back to the earth. And it says what? And the spirit shall return unto the Most High who gave it. So the spirit leaves the body. It doesn't just wander off randomly. It doesn't go, to a place called hell. No, the spirit goes back to the Most High. So it's the Most High who calls your spirit back. So let's continue with the video.
But in the archives, a note from one of the physicists reads, this energy behaves as if it's conscious. It doesn't simply disperse, it moves, as if it's leaving the body. One lab technician, anonymously, when you see it with your own eyes, you stop caring what the textbooks say. You know, death isn't the end, and that's terrifying.
And that's in the scriptures. Death is not the end. But see, being westernized or indoctrinated here in America, you're taught that death is the end. So that's terrifying to the people. And that's something Esau is going to use against you in this hour of temptation. See, in Jacob's trouble, this great tribulation, everybody just going to want to survive. People going to be dying by the billions. The scriptures called it a time of great death. So people will be desperate and willing to do anything to stay alive. That's why Job said a man is willing to give anything for his life. And being ignorant of death, what it is, what happens after, hey, people gonna go get that microchip, they gonna wind up in that lake of fire, thinking that it's the end. But yeah, death is not the end. Life continues elsewhere. You leave your natural body, and then you return to your spiritual body.
When the real hunt began, the project began circulating in military circles. The KGB got involved, and strange things started happening to the scientists themselves involved in the project. The interest was serious. If information could be transferred between cells, could consciousness itself be a wave? And if so, could it exist independently of the body?
So the consciousness, again, is referring to the spirit. And they ask the question,
could it exist independently of the body?
Can a spirit exist independently of the body? Meaning, can your spirit exist on its own without this physical body? And it's about to go into that right now. And we can support that with the scriptures.
The phantom leaf experiment.
So remember this, the phantom leaf experiment. This same experiment has also been replicated with human subjects, but it's going to explain it.
Early in effect. At the same time, Soviet scientists were studying high-frequency imaging techniques. Under the guidance of Semyon Kurlian, a method was developed to photograph what was believed to be the aura of living organisms.
That aura of living organisms, that's your spirit energy. In other words, it's just a spirit, because the spirit is pure energy in this three-dimensional world. So everything has an aura, everything that has life in it. People, animals, guess what? Even plants. Fungi, bacteria, anything that has life has a spirit and it has energy. That can be seen in this physical world, but through special imaging and technology, this aura, this spirit energy can be seen.
In the experiment, a section of a leaf to be the aura of living organisms. In the experiment, a section of a leaf is cut off. The remaining part is placed under high-frequency exposure, and the resulting image shows the full shape of the leaf, including the part that had been physically removed.
All right, did we hear that? I'm going to take it back, but the phantom leaf experiment, they took a leaf, they cut off a piece of the leaf, and then the leaf that had a piece removed, they looked at it under high frequency imaging. And what they saw is, although the leaf was physically tore apart, the aura, the spirit of that leaf, it was like the leaf had never been broke apart. So in the spirit, the leaf persisted, even though physically the leaf was broken up. But the spirit of that leaf was whole. So let's take it back.
To be the aura of living organisms. In the experiment, a section of a leaf is cut off. The remaining part is placed under high-frequency exposure.
Okay, so the leaf is cut off. Then the remaining part of the leaf is placed under this high-frequency imaging, in which you can see the spirit energy, the aura of that leaf. You know, the energy that's emitted by living organisms.
And the resulting image shows the full shape of the leaf.
And the aura, the spirit energy of that leaf, they could see the full leaf right there, as if the leaf had not been broken apart. So physically, the leaf was broken apart, but spiritually, the leaf was untouched. Proving what? You got a physical body and you got a spiritual body. The spiritual body just being your spirit. And that's supported in the scriptures. So that's why when we come to the book of 1 Corinthians 15:44, to be very straight to the point, it is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body. Now this is the point. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body. So you got two bodies. Your natural body is the body you have here on the earth in this three-dimensional physical reality. In that natural body, it can be cut, broken, hurt, damaged. It can become sick. But whatever happens to the natural body, it does not affect the spiritual body. So in this natural body, you suffer, you go through things, but the spiritual body is untouched. Now, this phantom leaf experiment, they've also done it with people. And this is a real phenomenon. People who lose a limb, they lose an arm, a leg, a foot. Well, there be times that they feel like they still got that missing arm, leg, or foot. And in their mind, it's like they can feel it. And it's so real that they feel like that they can control it, although that body part is missing. And these people are not hallucinating. See, what they tapping into is that spiritual body. Physically, that arm, leg, or foot whatever was removed. It was lost. But the spiritual body remains unharmed. So in the spirit, people are whole. So again, there's a natural body and there's a spiritual body. So no matter what happens to us in a natural body, this natural body it's not the true us anyway. The true us is the spiritual body. And this proves another important point. The natural body, you got a shape, a color, an appearance, an identity. You're distinct from other individuals. Well, that's the same is true in the spiritual body. Because people, especially in American Christian, they tell you in the spirit world, everybody looks the same. There's no color. There's no boys and girls, male and female, that you just a blob of dust or a floating blob of light, in heaven. And that ain't the case. That's why it says there's a natural body and a spiritual body. A body is a form, meaning it has a shape. And the natural is just a reflection of the spiritual. So in a natural body, in this fleshly body, if you got a color, an appearance, a shape, physical features, your own identity, you got your own identity in the spiritual world as well. Talking about the Lord is all colors. He's no color. That ain't how the Lord created creation. No, the natural body is a reflection of the spiritual body. So really your identity travels across dimensions. So that's proving another point. And that's why in this phantom leaf experiment, when they broke the leaf up physically, then looked at it under high frequency imaging, the leaf was still there. It wasn't just a random blob of light. No, it was in the shape of a leaf and it was glowing and it was whole. Showing that the spirit of that leaf was unaffected. Showing you there's two bodies. So we have two bodies. And our spiritual body, it got a shape, an identity, distinct from others. So let's continue.
In the experiment, a section of a leaf is cut off. The remaining part is placed under high frequency exposure, and the resulting image shows the full shape of the leaf, including the part that had been physically removed. This became known as the phantom effect. Kirlian wrote, "We are observing the energetic imprint of something that no longer physically exists." In 1983, a classified report submitted to the Ministry of Defense stated, "There is a probability that human consciousness is not solely a brain function."
So yeah, human consciousness is not a brain function. Because according to the white man's science, your conscience, your ability to think, to feel, to believe, they thought that was just brain function. But no, consciousness it exists outside of the brain and is way past brain function. That's what they're measuring. And they measured the consciousness or the spirit leaving the body. So what you like, how you feel, whether you're wicked or evil or you're righteous, that's not brain function. That's a spirit. That's all that is. Your consciousness, that's your spirit. It's not your brain function.
A field-based structure capable of surviving and interacting after the body ceases to function.
So that's the thing. The consciousness, your spirit, it persists and continues to function after leaving the body. But once your spirit leaves the body, the brain is no longer functioning. The body is dead. But you continue in the spirit. Everybody continues in the spirit.
This document later vanished from public archives, along with all further mentions of the research. What does this mean? If consciousness is a field, if it can detach from the body, if it persists after death, it overturns the very foundation of materialist science. Anything related to the non-material was always under strict control in the USSR. But as interest in parapsychology grew within military circles, the experiments of Kaznechaev, Kirlian, and other scientists came under direct KGB surveillance. This wasn't about science anymore. It was about strategic advantage. If consciousness was a field that could exist independently of the body, then could it be influenced, controlled, or even transmitted remotely?
So now you see the white man and his wickedness taking place. If the consciousness, meaning your spirit, can persist and function outside of the body, what did they say? Well, can the spirit be influenced? Can it be controlled? Can it be transmitted? So now you beginning to see why Esau looking into this information anyway. Does the spirit really exist? And they found that to be true. But now their next mission is to find out how to control the spirit. Why? Because that Isaiah 14:14, they want to be like the Most High. But let's get back to this.
Consciousness was a field that could exist independently of the body. Then could it be influenced, controlled, or even transmitted remotely?
Yep, because Esau want to be like the Most High. All knowing, all powerful, in control of everything, in the physical and in the spirit.
Dr. Korsakoff, a researcher at the Institute of Bioenergetics, codenamed Zone 4, later recalled in a private conversation, after the phantom hand experiment, men in uniform arrived.
Now you see that. Remember, we talked about the phantom leaf experiment, but now here it's talking about the phantom hand experiment, showing that that study was replicated. You know, people lose body parts, but in the spirit, they feel like that body part is still there. That's a real phenomenon.
After the phantom hand experiment, men in uniform arrived. They seized all records. They told us, this is now a classified matter. You saw nothing. In 1985, one of the key reports on the field properties of consciousness, prepared for the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Defense, vanished from all archives. According to rumors, a copy made its way abroad to a CIA-affiliated lab. The Americans were already conducting parallel research. The Gateway Project, approved by the CIA in 1983, was based on the same ideas. The brain is not the source of consciousness. It is a tuning device. Consciousness is a wave. This shocked Western analysts. In declassified CIA documents, available via the FOIA site, one phrase stands out.
You see, you got the CIA looking into this stuff now, showing that they want to weaponize it. They're not looking into it for anybody's benefit. They're looking into it as a method of control and projecting power over the people.
Soviet scientists are approaching a model of the soul as a non-material field. We must study this, or they will surpass us not just in space, but in consciousness.
They go America. They got to outdo the Russians.
While in the USSR, after Brezhnev's death, a purge of pseudoscientific topics began. Many labs were shut down. Some scientists left the country, others went underground, and some disappeared forever. Kaznechaev lived until 2014. In his final interviews, he cautiously stated, "We weren't allowed to finish, but we were close. We saw that consciousness is not a neural function. It is."
So your spirit, it got nothing to do with the brain. Your spirit, your consciousness exists and persists and functions and continues to live outside of the brain long after the body is dead.
Field. It persists. Why was all of this silence? Because if the soul exists, if it separates from the body, if it continues after death, then power over the body is no longer the ultimate power.
See that? It's about control. They said if the soul continues to live and if the soul continues to exist,
The ultimate power.
then power over the body is no longer the ultimate power. So that's why Yahweh Shah said this in Matthew 10 and 28. Fear not them which kill the body. Esau got power over the body. He can put fear in you. He can use that fear to control you. He can kill you. He got power over the body. Fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul. So Esau's power over life, over you, is limited to this physical life. Because if he kill you here, okay, the body dies, but the spiritual body remains. And Esau can't touch the spirit. So when he kills you, he's actually freeing you from his control. But that's what Esau wants, is control. But if he kill you, he no longer got power over you. So it's like the body is like a string, like a puppet show. Esau can pull them strings. That's the body. But when he kills you, it's like he cutting his own string. He got power over you no more. It says, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. And hell is just a condition. The Lord can kill your body and continue to torment your spirit. Whether, it's a spiritual body or the Lord put your spirit in another physical, natural body and torture you there. But see, it's Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah who got ultimate power, because he got power over the body and power over the spirit. And that's why Yahweh Shah said, all power on heaven and in earth is given unto him. I believe the book of Ecclesiasticus, it says that the Lord's throne is inestimable. Inestimable. Meaning there's no limit to it. There's no limit to his jurisdiction. The Lord's jurisdiction covers the past, present, the future, the physical, the spiritual, everything in between. The things we see, the things we don't see. But this is why Yahweh Shah, because we was in captivity under the Edomites. That's why Yahweh Shah told them that. Don't fear them which can kill the body. That power was given to Esau. The great sword to take peace, to take life from the earth, that they should kill one another. That was given to Esau. But it was only for a limited time. Because here at the end, when Esau want to give you that mark of the beast, to reject Yahweh Shah, because that's what you do when you get that market chip, you rejecting Yahweh Shah. Now you done lost out on your chance for salvation. Esau going down, and he want to take you with him. And when he get desperate, when it all fails, when nothing else breaks you, he's going to be like, well, we're going to have to kill you. We're going to execute you. And you can't fear that. Because if you comply and get the mark of the beast or worship the image of the beast or worship the beast, you're going to be in a lake of fire. And that's the importance of the phantom leaf or the phantom experiment. That when the body is damaged, the spirit is not. The spiritual body remains whole, undamaged, untouched. Showing in this physical body, we affected, but in reality, we really not affected, because the body is just a meat suit. It's just a suit. This is temporary anyway. We live in these bodies anyway. We got to be free from these bodies anyway, whether it's through death or rather Yahweh Shah call our spirit out of our bodies. And that's the importance of understanding the spirit. Again, the spirit is not just a blob of light. You have a spiritual body outside of this one. So whatever you look like, sound like, whatever makes you you, you got another copy of it that Esau can't mess with. And that one lives forever. But we're going to rewind that, and then we're going to jump to another video.
Because if the soul exists, if it separates from the body, if it continues after death, then power over the body is no longer the ultimate power.
So Esau don't got ultimate power. But remember, going back, they said if the consciousness, if the spirit persists and functions outside of the body, well, can the spirit be influenced? Well, can the spirit, can it be controlled? Can it be transmitted? And I want to show this again. This is the book of Isaiah 14:14. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. And that's why they silenced these scientists that was searching out the spirit. Because if the spirit exists and functions outside of the body, then power over the body is no longer ultimate power. So Esau, he want to pitch it to you that he's God, that he's the Most High, that he got the ultimate power, and he don't. Because again, if you only got power over the body, but not over the spirit, then that's not ultimate power. Then Esau's a fraud. So really, the science in these experiments, it really exposed them. Like he's just a fraud. He a phony. And that there's powers and stuff above him. So yeah, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. That's his heart's desire. Because remember, Ezekiel 28. And what was it, verse 2? Because thine heart is lifted up, thou hast said, I am a God. I sit in the seat of God in the midst of the seas. Yet thou art a man and not God, though thou set thine heart as the heart of God. So that's his heart's desire, to be like the Most High. And that's the quest that he's on in the last days. But yeah, this science, when they looked into the spirit, it really exposed them to being a fraud. Esau don't know what's going on out here. He not that tough. He not that powerful. He said like he got everything under control. He don't.
This threatens every ideology, every tyranny, every institutional religion. And maybe that's why everyone who got too close to the truth was forced.
And we got this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding through Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. We didn't have to do no science, we didn't have to use no technology. We just got it through the Spirit of the Lord. But I'm going to go to this next video real quick.
This is madness, but what if it's real? Russian scientists claim they've finally discovered what happens to the human soul after death. Not just theories, not just philosophy. They say they've tracked it. Welcome to Quick Clips, where we explore the mysteries of the mind, the universe, and everything in between. We all know what happens to the body when we die, but the soul, that's always been a mystery. Until now. A team of Russian researchers, in collaboration with a major tech firm named Vlad Tech, claim they've developed something they call the SICK, Soul Identification Code. It's a trackable code that can allegedly be embedded into the human brain using a special neural interface. Sounds like science fiction. Well, it gets even stranger. One of their test subjects passed away. They were ready. His brain was coded within SICK. They hooked him up to every monitor imaginable, brainwave scanners, heart sensors, blood pressure devices. And they waited. Then it happened. According to the scientists, the SICK code activated, and for nearly an hour after death, they were able to track the movement of his soul.
So you see that? For an hour after death, they was able to track his spirit. But again, that's the book of Ecclesiastes 12:7. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was. So the body go back to the ground. It says, "And the spirit shall return unto the Most High who gave it." So the spirit returns back to the Most High. And then remember in that first YouTube short that the spirit travels across the universe faster than light speed. Faster than light, because you're no longer confined to this physical reality in which there's limits, speed limits, the laws of physics and chemistry and all of that. You're no longer bound by them laws. So yeah, you can travel across the universe at unimaginable speeds.
According to the scientists, the sick code activated, and for nearly an hour after death, they were able to track the movement of his soul. Yes, they tracked it, but then it disappeared, completely off every system. Their explanation: the soul accelerated past the speed of light beyond the reach of their instruments. Even more shocking, they believe the soul left our universe entirely and
Yep.
entered another. If any of this is, the soul left our universe entirely and entered another. If any
Yep. Went to the spiritual realm. The Lord said there be things created, seen, and unseen. Meaning you can't see it with the naked eye. You can't see it with your high frequency imaging and your special sensors and telescopes and technology. There's worlds and universes that can be seen by nothing that Esau got. And that's why the Lord said, don't fear him, which can kill the body, but can't kill the soul. That's out of Esau's reach. He tried to track the spirit, then lost it. But we know in the first clip they said they refreshed their computers and they found the spirit some billions of light years away. Pretty much out of Esau's reach.
this is real, it raises one haunting question. If the soul is real and it's trackable, then where does it actually go? To another dimension, a parallel universe, heaven, the afterlife.
And we about to answer that right now. Yeah, there's an afterlife. And what people call heaven would be the spiritual realm, where the throne of the Most High is. And we're going to go into that right now. But let's review Psalms 104, verse 29. Thou hidest thy face, they are troubled. Thou takest away their breath, they die and return to their dust. So the body goes to the dust. Then right after, then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto the Most High who gave it. So return back to sender, back to the Most High. And this is what happens in the spiritual realm, which I'm going to get it, most of it in the NLT. This is the book of Job, chapter 3, verse 11. Now, Job was venting because he was going through it. Because in the flesh, in his natural body, he was going through it. He done lost everything. He was sick. He was hurting. But why was Job able to endure? Because he was tapping into the spirit. Remember the phantom leaf and the phantom hand experiment. Although his natural body was sick and beaten up, his real self, his spiritual body, was completely fine, unaffected. And Job was tapping into the spirit. That's what allowed him to endure the things of the flesh. And I can't think of it off top, but it says the spirit of a man will help him endure his infirmities. I just have to do another lesson on it. But this is Job 3:11. Why wasn't I born dead? Why didn't I die as I came from the womb? Why was I laid on my mother's lap? Why did she nurse me at her breast? Had I died at birth, I would now be at peace. So when you die, you enter back into that peace. Everybody, the righteous, the wicked, the pedophiles, they all go back to the Most High and they be at peace. I would be asleep and at rest. And that's why Yahweh Shah, when people die, he would say, they sleep. You at rest from the troubles in this physical world. And you in the spiritual world at rest. It's going to go into it. I will rest with the world's kings and prime ministers whose great buildings now lie in ruins. So you go back to the spiritual realm, that's where all the ancient kings are, all the ancient people. Pharaoh, king of Egypt, Nebuchadnezzar, Cyrus. It says, I will rest with princes rich in gold, whose palaces were filled with silver. King David, all the small and great people in the earth, they all return back to the spirit world. Why wasn't I buried like a stillborn child, like a baby who never lives to see the light? For in death the wicked cause no trouble, and the weary are at rest. So in death, Epstein not gonna be up there snatching up little girls. Your Catholic priest not gonna be up there snatching up little boys. There's not an Epstein list in the spirit world. No pedophile rings, no child and women, sex trafficking, no genocides, no slave trades. Again, for in death, the wicked cause no trouble. So as much as the devil, Esau the white man, is in the earth, he in complete perfect order in the spiritual realm. And the weary, those who suffer in this life are at rest. The victims of Epstein, the pedophile rings, the different wars and genocides and oppression, they at rest. Verse 17 again in the KJV. There the wicked cease from troubling, and there the weary be at rest. There the prisoners rest together. They hear not the voice of the oppressor. So the oppressor and the prisoners, the victims, we all rest together in the spiritual realm after death. In the spiritual realm, we not a prisoner. We not a slave. But guess what? Neither is Esau an oppressor. Ain't none of that going on in the spiritual realm. Perfect order and perfect peace. So that's what happens after death. And then this is beyond the scope of this lesson. 3 or 4 generations, the Lord sends you back to the earth. That's why you enter into this world crying, because you just left perfect peace. Really, this life is a prison sentence where who knows what is going to happen to you. But as we continue, again, Matthew 10:28, fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul. That's man. Mainly talking about Esau eating the so-called white man whose blessing was the sword, because we know he got a depopulation agenda. But rather fear him, which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell, and that's Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shah. And this is also 1 Corinthians 15:44. Once again, it is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body. The natural body is going to be put to the test and going to go through it. But if you're able to tap into the spirit, that'll sustain you in these times of trouble. When you fast, when you pray, when you put off the flesh, you tap it into the spirit. Relying on the flesh, the natural body alone, is not going to get us through Jacob's trouble. We got to learn to tap into the spirit. But even when we lose this body, because we're going to lose it at some point, we got that spiritual body. So we really being set free. You saw the white man is really doing us a favor. This is Revelation 6:9. And when he had opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls, you see that? The souls, the spirits of them that were slain for the word of the Most High and for the testimony of Yahweh Shah, which they held. So he's not seeing people in natural fleshly bodies. He's seeing spirits. And what he say? And they cry with a loud voice. So the spirits can talk. So meaning what? They got a mouth and all that. Showing that spirits have bodies. You're not just a shapeless blob. They cry with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And we reading between the lines, they were killed for not worshiping the beast in his image and taking his mark. You can only do that by possessing the testimony of Yahweh Shai. And it says, white robes were given unto every one of them, showing that these spirits, they have shapes, they have a form. And it was sent unto them that they should rest yet for a little season until their fellow servants also and their brethren, and that it should be killed as they were should be fulfilled. So a set number of believers going to be killed for this truth, but they got to be that way. 1 Thessalonians 4, we're going to start at verse 13. But I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep, meaning they dead in this world. It says that you sorrow not, even as others which have no hope. So people sorrow in death because they think all hope is lost. They think it's no more. They think that's it after that. And here in Jacob's trouble, going into the hour of temptation, to the people without this truth, they got no hope. They gonna think everything is on the line when it comes to that mark of the beast, which is the RFID microchip. And because people think all hope is lost, they gonna get the chip. Then once you get the chip, all hope really is lost. Because our hope isn't limited to this physical body. We know there's a spiritual body. We know that we're gonna be rewarded after death. So concerning death and those who sleep, we're not gonna sorrow as others do, because we got real hope through this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. For if we believe that Yahweh Shai died and rose again, even so them which sleep in Yahweh Shai will the Most High bring with him. For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain until the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep. So just because you died and didn't make it to see the Lord's return, if you died in the testimony of Yahweh Shai, you're not going to miss out on your reward. Those who remain alive not going to block you from getting your reward because they still alive. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of the Most High. And the dead and Mashiach shall rise first. So those who died in the truth, they're going to get rewarded first, before those who are alive. And then verse 17, then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds. That's the chariots. Psalms 104 and 3, Revelation 11 and 12, Revelation 1 and 7, to meet the Lord Yahweh Shai in the air. And so shall we be ever with the Lord. So that's our hope, is to be with the Lord forever. And that's after death. Or rather, we endure and don't taste of death. Revelation 20 and 4. And I saw the thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahweh Shai, for the word of the Most High, which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. But keep in mind, these people were beheaded, meaning their head was chopped off. And it said what? And they lived and reigned with Mashiach 1,000 years. So after having their heads chopped off, these people lived. Because in that natural body, the head was cut off. But the spiritual body was completely unaffected. Remember the phantom leaf and the phantom hand experiment. That continues, and there's nothing for the Lord to come up with another body. It's just a change of clothes for the spirit. But yeah, the scientists found out the spirit exists after death. It travels faster than the speed of light across the universe, and it appears to disappear from this universe into some faraway place, billions of light years away, which we know it went back to the Most High. The spirit consciousness persists after death. So Esau don't got ultimate power over us. And don't let him trick you into thinking he do. Once he kills you, he done lost power over you. He can do nothing to you no more. But fear Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shah, who got all power over the physical and the spiritual and everything in between. So we're going to play this short again, and then we're going to close out.
Russian scientists may have figured out exactly where our soul goes after death. Scientists have been studying death for decades, but they've never been able to go beyond what happens to the physical body after death, like if we have a soul or not. According to Russian scientists, they say we do have a soul, and they've figured out how to track it after we pass away. This bold claim comes from Russia's biggest tech giant, Vlad Tech. They've spent the last 10 years developing an interface that ties to the brain that can embed code in every atom of your being. Referred to this code as SIC code, or Soul Identification Code. And they say they can track it after you die. How it works is it actually detects your frequency, or the electricity you give off after you pass away, your essence, or your aura. They were able to put this to the test over the last couple days because their first guinea pig for the experiment passed away, and the results were astounding. Immediately upon passing, they were able to monitor his soul leaving the body, but then it almost instantly disappeared off the radar. The scientists attributed this to the fact that the soul was traveling faster than the speed of light, so they lost track of it and weren't able to monitor it. This went on for about an hour. Then they refreshed their computers, and there it was. It was showing 1 billion light years away. Back in 2024, the James Webb Telescope discovered a galaxy referred to as JZ140, also known as JADES GSZ140. It was located as part of the Advanced Deep Extragalactic Survey, the JADES program. What's baffling about all this is that's exactly where they tracked the soul to, literally billions of light years away. Now, why there? Your guess is as good as mine. Is that where we go when we die?
Lord willing, that was informative, edifying. Till next time, Shalom.